Institute of This is a videotape presentation from the National Institute of Mental Health. It will consist of two parts. One, an interview with Dr. Lewis L. Judd, Director of the National Institute of Mental Health. The interviewer is Dr. Ira Glick, Senior Science Advisor at NIMH. To be followed by a videotape entitled Windows into the Brain. And now, Dr. Glick.
Lou, what would you say is the most important issue for people to keep in mind at this point about mental illness?
It's important to be aware that mental illnesses are real and genuine diseases and disorders. They're not moral weaknesses. They're not due to character flaws. It's not an absence or strength of will. These are serious disorders that require diagnosis and treatment. They cannot be wished nor willed away. Individuals who suffer and are afflicted from mental illness, experience enormous pain. It devastates and distorts their lives, and oftentimes throughout the entire life cycle. But as bleak as this picture sounds, there is a great deal of hope for both patients who are afflicted with mental illness and the families who suffer along with them.
Why is there more hope?
There's hope because of the very strong scientific base of our field today. We have a mature and sophisticated science that's underpinning mental health research today. It has moved from being practically non-existent 35 and 40 years ago to among the very best that's available anywhere in healthcare. Our discoveries in the last 30 years have fundamentally revolutionized the way we conceptualize, the way we understand, diagnose, and treat the mental disorders. And this is especially encouraging at this point because we at the NIMH are aware that this is just the very beginning. The best is yet to come.
Let's review the Institute's new initiatives in the study of serious mental disorders.
The last 6 months here at the National Institute of Mental Health have been very, very exciting ones for us. We're very enthusiastic about a new major national plan which we're initiating, which is a national plan for research in schizophrenia and the serious mental disorders. This is made up of, based upon two plans, really. One is the National Plan for Research on Schizophrenia, which focuses on the clinical components of the study, and the Decade of the Brain Plan, which is a 10-year outline for the study of the brain and brain functions, which will allow us to demystify one of man's most complex and mysterious organ systems, the brain. As we well know, the brain has important relevance to the serious mental disorders. So we're in the process of launching a rational, solid, national scientific attack on the study of schizophrenia and the serious mental disorders.
Is the science of the field ready to take this on?
There's no doubt that this field is ready to take on the challenge. We've matured to the point that we can deliver on our promises. One of the fastest moving and hottest areas of all biomedical science is the study of the brain and the brain mechanisms. This has great relevance for the study of mental disorders. We feel that within the last 5 years we have made enormous progress in this regard, and it's just accelerating at this point. The field is indeed ready to take on the challenge, is ready to deliver on its promises, and the National Institute of Mental Health is ready to lead and direct that effort.
Would you describe the documentary that we're about to see?
The documentary we're about to see, The Windows of the Brain, is a superb example of what I've been talking about. For years, our understanding of mental disorders has been held back by our lack of ability to visualize man's brain, both in action and in the detail of structure. Now you're about to see in this documentary a whole series of brand new imaging techniques that allows us to obtain accurate and detailed information on the brain structure and how it functions. These technologies, along with a whole variety of other new techniques, are playing an important role in our getting a better and better understanding of mental disorders, how best to diagnose and to treat them. Most importantly, what it says is that the future of this science is a bright one and an optimistic one. But I think even more importantly, we at the Institute feel it tells us that the future of our patients is a brighter one, and that of the families who suffer along with them.
The human brain. This remarkable 3-pound organ collects and analyzes information from the outer and inner worlds. It coordinates movements and regulates basic automatic life functions such as breathing. The brain is also the site of those most human of human characteristics: thinking, planning, feeling. This is the human mind. More than 30 million Americans have a significant mental or neurological disorder. Our understanding of these disorders has been limited by the difficulty of studying the brain in living humans. This is the story of major advances in visualizing the structure and also function of the living brain, and how these advances permit us to better understand mental, neurological, and communicative illnesses. Beginning early in the 20th century, 2 kinds of windows into the brain have been opened. Structural imaging shows a static picture of the various brain regions and of any physical abnormalities, such as tumors. Functional imaging, on the other hand, shows the brain's ever-changing chemical and electrical activity, revealing either normal or abnormal functioning of different brain areas under specific conditions. The earliest technique for visualizing structure was the X-ray, which simply cast a shadow of the brain on a photographic plate. In these murky images, only very obvious abnormalities can be seen. A clearer picture of brain structure became feasible when the X-ray technology was coupled with radiation detectors and computers to produce computed tomography, the CT scan. Since the 1970s, CT has provided computer-generated pictures of brain structures in living humans, such as the horizontal slices shown here. On the right is a CT scan of a schizophrenic patient, whose ventricles, the dark, butterfly-shaped structures in the middle of the brain, are markedly enlarged compared to the left scan of a person who does not have schizophrenia. Structural differences like these may provide clues about the underlying causes of mental and neurological illnesses. A quantum leap in clarity was achieved by the 1980s with the development of magnetic resonance imaging. The MRI creates a magnetic field that permits detection of chemical elements in body tissue that resonate at a constant frequency. When a person is placed in the huge donut-shaped machine, emissions characteristic of brain tissue can be recorded to create an exquisitely detailed picture of brain structures. The first attempts to visualize brain function began with the electroencephalogram, or EEG. In an EEG, tracings of electrical impulses from the surface of the head can reveal gross functional changes associated with seizures, as seen here, and sometimes with tumors, strokes, infections, or other injuries. By applying computer analysis to EEG technology, investigators can now obtain color-coded pictures of electrical activity on the surface of the head. In this sequence of computerized EEG maps, electrical activity emanating from the dark blue point at left reveals an epileptic seizure beginning in the front of the brain. With this technique, scientists hope to learn more about altered brain function in people with schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, manic depressive illness, borderline personality disorder, Parkinson's disease, and epilepsy. Regional blood flow mapping also has been used to study brain activity. In one method, the patient inhales a harmless amount of radioactive xenon gas, which is carried by the blood to the brain. Detectors then pick up the radioactivity and use it to measure blood flow to the various brain regions. With this technique, researchers have studied the effect of mental tasks on brain activity, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, and dyslexia. It's also permitted study of manic depressive illness, obsessive compulsive disorder, and schizophrenia. For example, when asked to perform a task that requires analysis, abstracting, and the formation of a hypothesis, the brain of a healthy person shows a dramatic increase in blood flow near the forehead, the yellow area in the frontal cortex. When the same task is presented to a schizophrenic patient, the front of the brain actually appears to become less active. This finding supports the results of other studies, which indicate a profound yet subtle impairment of brain functioning in many individuals with schizophrenia. EEG and blood flow studies provide direct information only about activity at or near the surface of the brain. Further advances in understanding most psychiatric and many neurologic disorders depend on access to information about activity in deeper parts of the brain. Major advances in visualizing deep brain function have been based on the pioneering work of scientists at the National Institute of Mental Health, who developed the deoxyglucose method. This method measures the metabolism of glucose, the sugar that fuels the brain, and provides color-coded pictures of brain areas most actively involved in specific processes, such as seeing or hearing. The brightest colors, the reds and yellows, indicate the areas of greatest brain activity. Scientists supported by the National Institute of Neurological and Communicative Disorders and Stroke adapted the deoxyglucose method for use with positron emission tomography, the PET scanner. PET permits study of metabolic activity deep within the living human brain. Sensitive detectors pick up and measure radioactively tagged glucose. PET then converts this information by computer to a three-dimensional picture of brain activity. The brains of Alzheimer's disease patients, for example, show distinctive patterns when imaged by PET. The normal scan on the left shows a marked difference from the scan of an Alzheimer's patient on the right. The loss of activity in this Alzheimer's scan occurs in the brain's right hemisphere, where spatial relationships are controlled. While PET provides the clearest pictures of brain activity to date, the single photon emission tomography scanner, known as SPECT, offers a less expensive alternative for studying deep brain function. Like PET, SPECT permits investigators to perform repeated scans over short periods of time. It also offers scientists in relatively small research centers a way to track blood flow and other functions deep in the brain. Thus, researchers have begun to unlock the mysteries of the human brain in health and disease by viewing the structure and activity of the brain in the living human being. Ultimately, their work may contribute to improvements in the treatment of many devastating brain disorders.